welcome everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media. All the disinformation and misinformation, we want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Alden Altanay, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening. And as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Welcome to Total Truth Show, episode 142. The truth about healing is our hot topic today. And we have an amazing guest with us who we will introduce in just a moment. And my co-host, Ken Kleinberg. How are you today, Ken?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
Excellent. Now, our guest today is Dr. Kris Belfry. Now, he spent years as a chiropractor watching people do everything right and still feel like shit. Diets, adjustments, mindset work, none of it touched the real problem. So he built the Being Alive method, a nervous system-based approach that gets underneath the story people keep telling themselves. Now he works with high achievers who look fine on paper and feel stuck everywhere else, helping them see the pattern, own it, and get free of it. He's a single dad and Pearl Jam fanatic with 23 shows and counting. I love Pearl Jam as well.
Blast from the past, Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's done pretending, softer answers wherever the point. Welcome to the show, Kris.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love your intro too. That's so good.
Oh, well, Ken did that. He did a great job with that intro.
Yeah,
I just pulled that from Messenger. You sent that to me, Kris.
No, not that message. Your intro.
Trailer.
The trailer. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, so good.
Yes, and that intro was good too. So wonderful. Look, I love this topic. I think now more than ever, the world needs more healing. And I always say the healing starts with us. Hurt people, and healed people heal people.
Right
so how did this journey start for you, Kris, where you became curious about healing?
Yeah, I think I share this a lot, but it really started. I was in a car accident when I was 13 and I almost died. So it was in that moment, I'm a Canadian kid, so I thought I'd be a professional hockey player, all 5'6" of me. But but you didn't want to kill a kid's dream. But but that was a really turning point for me, and I was really wanted to help people after that. And so I just took a journey, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how that was going to work. I knew I liked sports and I liked science. So I went to school to be a sports in exercise science. So it was in kind of my wheelhouse. And my mom was seeing a chiropractor, and she was like, "Oh, you really," because my the main professor at my university was a sports psychologist. We talked a lot about, not to date myself, but in the 90s, he was already back then. Professional athletes were already using visualization tools for pitching, for basketball, golf. So we talked a lot about that, and just the whole idea of the body, just the fascination with the body and mind, to me, with both, really I loved. So when my mom was seeing a chiropractor, I'm like, wow, this really kind of aligns with my thinking. And so I became a chiropractor. And then chiropractic, I learned that chiropractic can help 75% of people. So I was like, well, I want to help everybody. So I started studying as many chiropractic techniques as I could. So I probably studied well over 20 chiropractic techniques. And upon graduation, I eventually actually created my own technique that wasn't chiropractic, because I really thought like my biggest thing was like my own, like I used myself as a model, I guess, or as a patient. I had an extreme allergy to cats, and so bad, like if a cat would touch me, I would get hives. Like I would know if you had a cat in your house or had a cat 10 years ago. I'd walk in, I'm like, oh, I can't stay, because I'd get stopped, like my breathing would stop, and it had like an asthmatic reaction. And so I would get an adjustment, and that would change. I would start to breathe again. Amazing, right? However, it didn't do anything with my cat allergy. So I was still allergic to cats. So it's only based on symptoms. I kept chasing the symptom for something. So for me, I was like, well, I want to get to the root of this. And so I started studying other techniques, and, eventually created my own technique. And it was more holistic. So I looked at like a bigger picture, not just structural, like your spine. I looked at, muscle imbalance, or pelvic distortion was a real big thing, because an adjustment can only really affect, like, theoretically, I mean, they'll say some other things, but it's really only good for a pelvis that's gone forward and backwards. But your pelvis goes sideways and crooked, all sorts of different directions. So when I was able to fix the pelvis, and I did amazing work, and I saw, amazing results. People have been suffering back pain, have been seeing a chiropractor, 2 visits, the back pain's gone. I mean, I've had patients with cancer that didn't have cancer, and, I have amazing stories. But as I kind of gone on, there was no, like, thing was missing for me was there's no self-accountability. I was working on myself, and I wanted people to have some self-accountability. So in the process of me working on me, I created the technique really that I do now. And you can get into that, but I mean, yeah.
Extraordinary. Wow. Isn't the body amazing how you can
It really is. Yeah.
it from all sorts of things. Wow. I must say, I've always been a little bit scared of chiropractic. I always, kind of all the cracking and all that sort of thing.
I see one once a week. Are you kidding me?
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah. So it's just really gas escaping, right? So it's just no different than cracking your knuckles. So it's really not, yeah. But there's a lot, not to poo-poo, but there's a lot that, goes into there that's really missing, as far as like, just being adjusted, because really the sound that's making is just the bones that are easily to move, but sometimes it's the bones that are stuck that really need to move. And so that's why there's a lot of reasons why you have to keep going. And that was really, a question that I had to, like, I asked, like, why, if I was better, then why do I have to keep coming back? And I understand the philosophy of like, well, you feel good, you want to stay good. But I mean, if I was getting to the root of the problem, then the problem should be gone, right? I shouldn't have to keep going back. And so, or at least I should be able to go a long period of time without having to keep going, And so seeing people for like, for years, I mean, I treated people and I still see some people, but for, I've been in practice for over 20 years, 23 years now. Wow. And so, I those are the kind of a lot of points that really, I guess, highlighted it, I guess, for me to seen a lot of clients along the way that, I can use some good examples, some that I use often. I had a guy that would come with back pain, and he was one of the guys that, he's been to other people and nothing worked. And he walked in crooked and he walked out straight. And so he was amazed. He referred like 50 people.
Wow.
Amazing, right? I mean, so like, I don't know how many, but he referred so many people. And one day he's like, and he was one of those guys that have to come in every 4 to 6 weeks because of the back pain, And this is right when I was in the cusp of realizing that emotions played a role in our, and so he was like, Kris, like, I referred this guy and this guy and this person. Like, how come they don't have to come back? Why do I have to keep coming back? And I'm like, look,
Ooh, good question, right?
Yeah. I said, when you retire, you won't have to come back, and because he knew to the day then when he's going to retire. Like he knew, like, I'm not saying like, oh, I got 30 more days or 200 days. Like I got like 406 days and 3 hours and 4 minutes, he knew to the day that he was going to retire, and that, he hated his job. And so, sure enough, he retired. I didn't see him for a long time. But what I didn't tell you is that he also would come in with his wife, and his wife you would hear them bickering in the waiting room. You'd come in, he'd bicker about her, and she'd come in and bicker about him. And so what happened after he came in about 9 months, maybe I don't remember. It was about maybe over a year. So what happened after the year they brought him back in? Well, his wife retired. So it just was like a cusp, like, because they were always feuding, they're always bickering, so like here's a stress now. So it just showed me that stress was a bigger component. And so there's little examples. I had a lawyer too. She was in a car accident. She was in a taxi, and the taxi hit, I think, a bus. Anyways, she was suing the cab company, the city, and somebody else. And she was in terrible pain. She could barely move her neck, and she got so much better, but she couldn't like get over everything, and she's like, Kris, like when's it gonna happen? I'm like, well, when your lawsuit's over, because she couldn't be a victim to her story, right? She can't come in and say, especially as a lawyer, and saying like, hey, I have this pain, but I'm feeling better now, right? Because she was suing for a substantial amount of money. So those are some key things that I realized, like how emotions played a role in our health. And this was like before I could talk about it. Now this is common and people talk about it, but this was like, you're thinking now in the mid 2000s, right? So this wasn't commonplace, late 2000s. This wasn't something I could talk about. I couldn't say the lady who came in with back pain to say like, well, your back pain was because you're abused by your uncle, but that was the case, And the cool thing is when her back pain went away, she ended up confronting her uncle, which was so cool to do. And she never got that, like this is something that I only see because we didn't really talk much about it. I just told her pelvis was off and I fixed all that, whatever, from a structural point of view, from, the chiropractic, point of view. And, the back pain went away and she had this conversation with her uncle and, it was a really amazing story. Right. So those are the things that I realized how important that was in our healing. So those are some key moments. Yeah.
What's interesting is, I like going at least once a week. I could probably do not to go once a week. I could probably skip 2 or 3 weeks and I'm fine totally. But I feel looser when I go. My workout is better. So, I like going once a week. And I go to this clinic. It's called The Joint. And basically, they're kind of like the fast food of chiropractic. So basically, it's the best way I can put it. Poor analogy. So I don't mean fast food as in it's unhealthy, but I mean,
no, I get it. You're in and out quick. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in and out quick. So it's kind of a franchise corporation kind of thing. Yep. And so I go once a week, but my story around this whole thing is it was quite a few years ago, back around 2018, 2019-ish. I ended up with a herniated disc in my lower back, like really bad herniated disc. I had pain that wrapped around my glute, came in the front of my quadricep, down my leg, literally felt like somebody was drilling a nail or a screw into my knee. And then the front side of my shin, I remember there was radiating pain. And then the whole right side of my left foot was numb. And it was, I never want to go through that pain again.
Yeah.
So the chiropractor I went to go see to treat that pain is not the same place that I currently go to for maintenance. The chiropractor that I went to go see actually ended up saving my life. So originally, because the pain was so bad, I've never been in that severe amount of pain. Originally I was thinking about going through the medical system and figuring out what was going on. That scared the crap out of me, trust me, because I just don't trust the medical system. But then something inside of me was like, no, why don't you check this? So I had a card from somebody who had been at that particular joint, the Joint Chiropractic. back in the early days when it first opened, she was one of those rare chiropractors that actually like knew what she was doing, had a lot of really good knowledge, and she kind of went above and beyond everybody else and did all the extras. So I happened to have her card, so I gave her a call. I told her what was going on, and she referred me to this one guy who then did spine decompression treatments on me. And through that journey, I kind of also learned how to actually do proper spinal care, because one of the questions he asked me was, well, how do you care for your spine? And I showed him some typical stretching maneuvers that I usually do. And he's like, that's not taking care of your spine. I was like, oh, well, that explains why 15, 20 minutes later, all the pain comes back and my lower back's all tightened up again and everything else. So he, I kind of also self-taught myself some things around spinal care, but he also gave me some tips. One thing that I was always grateful for is he never actually told me he never told me to stay away from the gym. Instead, I came back to him and I said, here's what I'm doing, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And he's like, okay, do that, but do it this way. Do that, but do it this way. Don't do that. And, but he never told me no. So that was amazing. But needless to say, it took me literally about a year and a half, 2 years, I want to say, to get to be fully recovered. And now it's been about 5 or 6 years since I've had any kind of back problem. And if you saw what I do at the gym for my cardio routine, you'd be like, how in the world? And part of that is just because I learned along the way. I learned a lot of strategies and different things like that. But now I just go back to the chiropractor because I just like feeling loose afterwards. I mean, I don't necessarily need to go every week, but it is part of my package. So I just do. But anyhow, I thought I'd share with you that story.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
I don't think I would have need to see you for 2 years to get you out of pain, but other than that, that's good.
I didn't need to see him for 2 years. The treatments lasted about 6 months. The process of recovery and doing all the things on the back end took about 2 years.
Right.
Because it was so severe.
Yeah. So a lot of my thinking, like ever since I was little, I'm always asking why. And so even when I was doing with chiropractic, right? I mean, because everyone's like, well, it's my job, or it's working out, it's my spine, or whatever. So if that was the case, then everyone that does that should have pain, right? But it's not the case, right? So every person, I originally worked in a city that was a mining town. So you would think every miner should have back pain, because I saw a lot of some miners, but I didn't see every single miner. So if it was mining that was doing it, then every single miner should have back pain, or every single laborer should have back pain, or every single dental hygienist should have neck pain. And that wasn't the case, right? So and there's other extenuating circumstances that I felt was underlining that was really causing the root of the problem. And that's really what drove me to ask more questions, get deeper answers. And I'm not saying not to go to the chiropractor. I'm not poo-pooing chiropractic. I'm just saying, there's other things that might be deeper, especially with chronic problems, right? Like if you've been dealing with something for a long time, it's likely not your spine. It's likely something deeper than that. Right? So, that's the question I ask. If you slip and fall and hurt your back, well, maybe, a couple adjustments. Yeah, absolutely. But, if you're having this chronic issue, there's likely some emotion. And that's what I noticed in my client, seeing people, like thousands of clients over the years. If it wasn't emotion that was causing it, emotions was preventing it from fully healing. So there was that aspect that I really realized and really got me into what I do today. And so so I'm not saying wrong. It's wrong.
That's fascinating. So you're actually saying that sorry, Aldwin. You're actually saying that if somebody has a continual problem, there's usually an underlying emotional
100%,
issue.
100%.
Interesting. Unpack that a little bit. Wait, first, let Aldwin ask her question and then unpack that.
Oh, I just find this fascinating because I've been following Louise Hay for quite some time, and she has a book called Heal Your Life, and she talks about the emotional things that underlie any kind of physical pain that we have. There's usually some kind of emotional thing. For example, if you have back pain, you're not feeling supported in general. There's all sorts of things. She has all sorts of affirmations and things that she says around each kind of ailment that people feel that has some kind of emotional link. And then there's people like Brandon Bays, who has a journey process that you go into your body to find where these blockages might be emotionally and to help clear it. So there's multiple ways you can heal the body, I guess, and chiropractic is one way. If you can go deeper and look into the emotions and look at it as a multifaceted thing, then I think you'll accelerate your healing if you can get to the source of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so if that's the unpacking, it's really the root is, some sort of childhood trauma based on likely some kind of safety, right? And so your body over the years is doing things and it's a means to protect you. So it's not just always physical pain. It could be self-sabotage, procrastination. These are all ways you actually, your body, you're the creator, right? So you're creating your world, and so self-sabotage is just a way you're protecting yourself. It's just a protective mechanism, right? And so, and any kind of real personality, most people have put themselves in a little box we call comfort zone. And that box is what we define ourselves. And so if we try to leave the box, well, there's chaos, there's fear. So we go back to what we're used to. And so, I had a client who has been in and out of abusive relationship her whole life. Okay. And she would find a good relationship and she would create something and then end that to go back to an abusive relationship. Why is this pattern? Why? Well, because that's safe to her. Her whole life, probably there's some kind of childhood abuse, right? And so the cool thing, what I do, we don't have to go through it. It's not therapy. And so what you touched on, Aldwin earlier is like, the Bay guy or whatever he said, affirmations, mindset stuff don't work either because all your stuff's stored in your body. So unless you get into your body, and that's really what separates what I do is showing people how to get into your body. And because your body's holding it, your mind is just synapses firing, you're holding your body. And you can use this as an example of just think of like you get cut off at school or when you're driving or your spouse says something or your boss, and so you flip out or you get angry, you immediately find a fight or flight. You actually feel something in your body. You feel heavy. Just think about the last time you're angry or upset or hurt or worried. You feel that in your body, right? And so we're just trying to, a lot of these things like affirmations, surely good, but it's only, like I always talk about it from a tree point of view, just, cutting branches from a tree rather than really getting to the root of the problem, right? And so really you want to get into your body because that's where you're holding on to it. And so your body remembers, and I just help people remember what's going on in your body.
So how do you help people? Because now I'm going, okay, wait, what does this look like? So how do you help people identify that in their body? And then how do you help people now fix it? Because part of work that I'm doing now, it has nothing to do with back stuff. But part of the work that I'm doing is learning to kind of reprogram not just the subconscious mind, but limiting beliefs around certain things and different things like that. And I am actually learning that some of these beliefs are cellular, blah, blah, blah. Can't say that correctly. I'm getting tongue-tied, but I think you know what I'm saying. And when I discovered that, I was like, wait, okay, so then how do you fix that? If it's down to the cellular level, then how do you fix that and reprogram that? And how do you now get out of that? Because Now what I'm finding is, even though I formed new beliefs around things and then taken another step, found evidence for the new beliefs and standing on that evidence, because the evidence is irrefutable, it's true. And it's true from my past. It's just past memories that have been buried that support the new decision or the new belief. But I'm still kind of fighting a battle right now between the old beliefs and now the new beliefs. So there's still this battle going on. So yeah, that's my question. I know that's kind of loaded and packed, but that's my question.
Well, you kind of look at like, maybe if you want to call it an inner child or whatever it is, like your little is crying for something. Say, when it comes to, I think, weight, right? So say you're talking about weight, and so that might be a way you soothe yourself through food, right? Maybe that's kind of a common thing, right? And so in order to feel safe, you eat. People might eat, or whatever the belief story is like. And so, or a belief system like, oh, if I have this extra piece of pizza, I better not, because it's going to go to my waist. I tell people you might as well just take it and slap it on your ass, because that's exactly where it's going if you think that way, right? So, there's, the belief system, absolutely. So, and kind of getting back to a little bit how you unpack that. First of all, it's great. You have to be aware. That's really the first start of anything is, and too many people, we have all these thoughts, and we never slow down to start thinking about what's going on in our heads, right? So I show people a tool just to start to be more self-aware. And just that alone is worth what I pay, because because so many people never slow down or learn how to even actually start to listen to what's going on. Or when they're triggered, they just go right into that mode of into that fight or flight, because that's what happens. So as soon as you recognize oh, I'm triggered, pause, and then you can react differently, right? So it all starts first with awareness. So a lot of that first part of what I teach people is how to be more self-aware. What are you thinking? And then what are you feeling? And so even a belief, you're going to feel a belief in your body. It's just like, okay, where do I feel this belief? And so I show people how to do that. And that's kind of where the magic sauce kind of happens of mindfulness and body awareness and how to process and let it go. And it's mostly through NLP, some neuro-linguistic programming, and meditation, a slight variation of meditation. It's really the two that
very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I just revisited a NLP certification course actually a while ago. So I've had some NLP training as well. I love things like the timeline therapy and getting out of your and visualizing the past and future.
Yeah, so I do a little bit of past timeline therapy and a little bit of mostly anchoring. The biggest is anchoring. I anchor because once you anchor that everything in your body, then you can process so much quicker and so much easier. Like even now, having done this for a long time, I can read a book and process things. I can have a conversation with you and process it all at the same time. If something you say triggers me or,
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned awareness there, and it made me think of 3 steps to healing that I heard from one of my mentors a while ago, a guy called Ben Harvey from Authentic Education. And he said there's 3 steps to healing, or to feeling and healing. The 3 steps to healing is, the first is awareness, the second is acceptance, and the third is appreciation. And I think when you have the awareness and then the acceptance that, hey, there's nothing right or wrong about this, because a lot of times we judge ourselves, we self-criticize, we self-sabotage, especially on the emotional eating. I know I've been an emotional eater many times in my life. I love food, and it's being able to actually discipline yourself to control those eating habits, because a minute on the lips and a lifetime on the hips, they say. So.
And the cool thing too is as soon as you realize I'm the creator, that gives you the power back to make the change, right? Because if you put it into somebody else's hands, then it totally leaves you powerless. So the big part is that self responsibility, I'm the creator of my life and I can make a change. Right? And so that's a big part of it too, right?
Absolutely. The above the line game, right? The taking full responsibility rather than below the line behavior is blaming, shaming, never taking responsibility, which leaves you absolutely powerless to change anything in your life. And if you're constantly the victim, you'll constantly be depressed and upset with the state of the world, which right now it's easy to get upset with the state of the world. However, there's a lot we can't control.
There's so much just like labeling and just like, like everyone's a narcissist and every relationship's toxic. It's just like, well, where's your self accountability? Where's your self responsibility in the relationship, in your diet, or your life, whatever it is, right? It's just like, oh, it's the government, that's why I'm poor, it's whatever, right? It's like, well, you created the state you're in, and you can create something different if that's, if you want to change it, and I get, but we got to get into realizing that like our old programming is just old programming. You have to just recognize it, right, for what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I want to welcome our live viewers. We've got Charles Caldwell here on LinkedIn from Hong Kong. Hello, Charles. Great.
Awesome.
Great. All the way from Hong Kong. And we have Kenneth Dunner Jr., one of our favorite people. He loves to hop on our shows and comment. Great to see you, Kenneth. He says, OMG, so awful pain. He was talking about when you had the pain there, Ken. You were talking about. Yes, thank you, Kenneth. Great to see you there. And actually, talking of back pain, now I always love to keep an open mind and be curious about so much in life. And I find the more I learn, the more I realize there is to learn. And I did a little search in the background as we're talking about Louise Hay on back pain. And what I found here is, I just want to share this with you because I think this will help a lot of people. Louise Hay, she says that back pain reflects emotional and mental stress with different areas of the back linked to specific feelings such as fear, guilt, and financial worries. Now, interestingly, she says for lower back pain, for anyone who's feeling this now, she says it's often linked to fear of money or lack of financial support, reflecting anxiety about security and stability in life. She says for mid back pain, she says it's connected to guilt and feeling burdened by responsibilities or unresolved emotional issues. And it may also indicate holding back love or resentment. As I say, resentment is when you want someone else dead and you take the poison. Upper back and rounded shoulders, which a lot of people have now with being on their devices all the time. A lot of us now have
like this thing.
They call it tech neck here in Australia. I don't know about America, but people are calling it tech neck, the technology neck. For upper back rounded shoulders, it suggests carrying the burdens of life, feeling helpless or hopeless, and struggling with emotional weight. And then back curvature. So if your whole back is curved, it says, she says it represents an inability to flow with life, fear and clinging to old ideas, indicating a lack of trust in life and personal integrity. And then she says the last one here is coccyx or tailbone pain, symbolizing self-pity and feelings of being unable to ask for help. So here are some affirmations that she has, positive affirmations that can help release emotional blocks and support physical healing. Of course, this is not the be all and end all. However, it may help you. So for those with lower back pain, say this affirmation: I am financially secure. I trust life to provide for me. For mid-back pain, I release all guilt. I am free to love and be loved. And for general back support issues, I am supported by life. I trust the process of life. And she says repeating these affirmations while reflecting on the underlying emotional causes can help align the mind and body and promote holistic healing. Isn't that fascinating?
I would like to add to that to really help people. Just what I would recommend is when you're doing that is then you can even put your hands on your body and then breathe, right? And so as you say that, and then as you say a phrase, the affirmation, then just feel it in your body, because there's going to be maybe something that comes up, some resistance, some heaviness, whatever, and just breathe until it just clears, and then go on to the next statement, because you want to embody it, because that's really what's going to create the change for people.
Yes,
right? Again, right? So it's not that affirmations are bad, but most of them, again, are cerebral. And cerebral, that's why talk therapy takes, decades to really make a difference, because it's all in your head, and in your head isn't where the problem is.
I was waiting for you to add on to that, because I'm like, as good as affirmations are like, it can't be about just affirmations, because you're going to constantly be fighting with your old beliefs.
Right. Because you could say, I am, thin and beautiful. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, or you get on the scale, you're like, oh, I gained 2 pounds. I'm a fat plug. Right.
And then you have more evidence that backs up the old limiting belief.
Right. So you couldn't change that too. I would tell people I'm being thin or I'm being abundant, because then your thoughts can't say anything other than that, because I'm being that. Well, I can be anything, right? So I'm being giving, I'm being loving, I'm being, rather than I am love, I'm being love, I'm being wealthy. Well, all of a sudden you can't self-negative talk that, right? So it was a cool way to, if you're gonna do an affirmation, just add I'm being to that, or just like feeling your body is the ideal way.
Yes, I love that, because we have the three minds, don't we? We have the mind, the brain mind, we have the heart mind, and we have the gut mind, or that intelligence, right? So it's aligning those three. And, a lot of people don't trust their gut, and that has let them down over time, not trusting their intuition. What are your thoughts around that, Kris?
Yeah, because it's so easy. Well, first of all, because we've got so many thoughts going on, right? So we can't quiet our mind enough to really be a listener to what's going on. And so that's part of what, working with people too, they're able to slow down. If you talk to people, I'm way more grounded than I ever have been. And so it's part of working with me. You get more, because I really, what it is comes down to nervous system regulation. That's what I love to talk about, nervous system regulation. That's really what this is. And so by relaxing your nervous system, you become more calm, grounded. And so you become less, you become trigger proof. And so, forget the question. Sorry, we're going with
it's around trusting your gut.
Yeah. So the more you can be still and inside your body, you can be a better listener, really, of what's going on. And that's part of the awareness tool, because you can realize you're not the one talking, right? You're the one actually listening to the thoughts, right? Most people think there's a voice, but you're the actual person listening to the voice, is their true essence. So you have to be able to still quiet yourself to be able to be the listener of what's going on. Right. And so I think, so if your mind says whatever, what does it say? 60,000 words a minute. If you can slow your mind down and say, I'm the actual listener. So that's the essence. So if you can actually get in your body, and that's what I teach people, you can become a better listener to your gut. Or if you, whatever you want to call it, but yeah.
Yes, the stats I've seen are 60,000 thoughts a day that the average human being has. 98% are the same thoughts as we had yesterday, and 8% negative for most people. Right. Isn't that interesting? How conditioned have we been for negativity through the years with the mainstream media, with our education system, and so fascinating that I did an interview on Media Queen TV yesterday with a guy called Clive Never, and he was talking about how when we go to school, our imagination goes way down as we enter school from a young age. Isn't that right? Our creative thinking, and now we have AI, so people are not thinking at all now. I mean, you get a young person to try to add up anything manually, and they'll be completely lost without a calculator, right?
100%.
It's very interesting the way the world is going.
Well, now I can do basic arithmetic, okay, but when you start getting into things like algebra and pre-algebra, forget it. Just leave that out there. In fact, I think in high school, so I passed pre-algebra, because pre-algebra I could actually wrap my head around. When it came to algebra, I never passed it. I actually graduated high school without ever passing algebra. But there are some times where I'm just this times this equals what? And I'm I don't want to figure it out. Where's the calculator? So,
Yes, it's fascinating, isn't it? So I think, keeping your imagination and creativity is so important. And one of the things I do for my own personal healing is I get out in nature. I have 6 chickens. I have 2 cats. You wouldn't do too well at my place, Kris. I've got 2 rescue cats.
Yes.
We have a dog here as well. And looking at the birds and watching the sunrise and the sunset, and just, admiring nature is so powerful, and we've become so removed from that in many ways. People have been so obsessed with this doom scrolling that happens, and they're just totally often oblivious to how much they're in a in a state of mind control as we are so addicted to our devices now. So what are your thoughts, Kris, about actually boosting your healing and energy by getting out in nature?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think obviously that's, we all know that. I don't know what to add to that. I mean, you kind of played it or said a lot, but yeah, I think it's important. I think I think just you can't get out in nature even wherever you live. Just the part is, I think where you're out in nature, where you might be, there's less distraction, so you're actually in nature. And you can be in nature in the city if you just take a moment and unplug and don't bring out your phone. Don't put your headphones in to, listen to your latest podcast or music. Really, like, be aware of what's going on. I remember, with my stepdaughter when she was going to high school, and I just said one time, because every day she would walk like 3 minutes or 5 minutes to the bus stop, headphones in. I just said, for one day, and she was like, oh my God, like, I saw a tree, and it was like the biggest tree on the street, and she never saw this tree, it was, so she's so oblivious that she wasn't even aware. Right. So that's like the power of just being more aware. So I think, that too alone, and being out in nature. So walk in the park and be in nature rather than just be in nature, if that were to make sense. Right.
Yes,
I do a little bit of both. So a lot of times when I go on a walk, my walk time is like my deeper time with God. And so a lot of times when I'm out on my walk, I've got worship music playing in my ears because that's my close time with God. And so the worship music aids to that. But as I'm walking around, I am very much aware of the colors, the trees, the surrounding environment around me. I am intentionally paying attention to those things because that's in line with what I'm listening to, because that's God's creation, right? But I do have times where during my walk, I will take my headphones out and see what I can hear, the birds, the different things like that. And especially when I go down to the beach and do my walks and spend, a day at the beach, just kind of reflecting and everything. First part of my walk, I'll usually have my headphones in for worship. And then the second part of my walk, I will have my headphones out so that I can actually be present with the ocean, hear all the things, the seagulls and stuff like that. So for me, it's a little bit of both. But either way, even if I'm walking here around my place and they've got like a little walkway out here just across over on the other side of my backyard, even though I've got my headphones in and I'm listening to worship music, I'm very much aware of the colors and the plants around me and the different things like that. And like I said, if I do find a section where I'm seeing a lot of birds, then I will intentionally take my headphones out because I want to hear the birds, right? So for me, it's a little bit both.
Nice. And tapping into your senses, all your senses, what am I seeing? What am I feeling? What am I, even like, meditating and feeling, okay, what am I feeling under my feet right now? What am I hearing in the distance? What, all of those things, tapping into your senses. And as you were sharing about the tree there, Kris, I was visualizing a whole lot of people on their phones that walk into the trees rather than actually.
There actually has been memes of people doing that. Yeah.
So yes. It's amazing how we are so hooked on our devices, and they're designed that way. They're designed to have people hooked and to have so many tools now on this one device. I mean, remember the days before mobile phones? Remember the days before digital photography? I mean, it's insane how much the world has changed in the last 20 years. And no doubt in the next 20 years, there'll be people who are probably marrying their robots. I'm sure this is all going to be happening. If it's not happening already, they don't need blow up dolls anymore. Just get yourself a robot that'll just do everything you say and will never argue and, do whatever you want. I mean, hey.
That is absolutely sad.
Sign me up for that.
Okay, for those tuning in right now, what do you think about people having relationships with robots? What do you think about that? Okay, but it's interesting.
I think it's a sad thing. Like, no.
They don't talk back. There's a lot to benefit there. What are you talking about?
well, the thing is, everyone wants love, right? And robots and AI now, people are full on having like relationships, as far as they talk more to their AI bots now in a lot of people in business than they do to actually real people in their life. So they actually, in essence, do have a kind of relationship going on here with their AI bot. And I think Elon Musk was saying there's going to be millions of, I don't know, humanoid bots, I think humanoid robots by 2030. I think he was saying like 40 million or so, some ridiculous amount of, or over a million, whatever it is. Look it up. But yeah, a lot of humanoid bots out there predicted in the next few years that are going to be doing things like washing your dishes and folding your clothes and, all that sort of thing. And it's insane, the technology now out there with this. And whether we like it or not, this technology is going to continue to move forward. So how do we stay in our bodies and be fully present to the magic of life away from the technology, the actual beautiful world that we're in, how connected we are to the planet? And you look at animals. Animals run on instincts. They're present in the moment. Animals are so healing for us because they're just in the moment. They're just being. Whereas as humans, we make life really hard for ourselves sometimes. And humans are the only ones that actively destroy their environment as well, interestingly. So now, talking of love, I do want to dedicate this show today to Dolly Parton. In the last 24
yes, I know.
Unfortunately, Dolly Parton has just passed away. For those who don't know, she was 80 years of age and battling 2 years with cancer. And interestingly, her husband also died last year. And in the last week, I had another beautiful friend of mine at 54 years of age here, a lady called Neen, who did a lot to save the swans on the Gold Coast. She passed away of cancer. And one of the biggest side effects we're finding from the jab now through COVID is turbo cancers. And I do wonder how many of these cancers that are popping up are from that. Will we ever know exactly? But what we do know is the stats show there's a lot of turbo cancers and a lot of heart attacks that have been happening in the last few years, which is very interesting. And I know this is a controversial topic, and I know that there's a lot of people who felt they were forced to take the jab and they were actually coerced into it. I know my dad got shingles from it. I know people personally have had a lot of side effects, and there were others that had no side effects. So it's kind of like Russian roulette. But at the end of the day, no matter what the government says, we choose what we put into our bodies, right? And I was prepared personally to never travel again, never go into a restaurant again. And there's no one going to convince me to get that poison. I call it poison in my body, because we're starting to see evidence of that now. So yes, it's interesting when we talk about the truth about healing. It's interesting, different people's perspectives on that, and how we've been trained. And with you being a chiropractor, Kris, I'm sure you would have had certain training that maybe now you maybe don't agree with. So what are your thoughts on that traditional healing methodology versus ancient healing modalities?
Well, I don't know where to go with this. I think it's hard to say. I think, like, from a chiropractic standpoint, I think a lot of it has to do with different philosophies from the different schools you were brought up in. My school, and really, and if you kind of so the main philosophy where chiropractic originally came from is what the original chiropractor, the doctor who kind of invented it, he talked about this innate energy of your body able to heal in itself. And so, that also was part of why I do what I do, is I'm working at that deeper level, at that level, at that innate level. Whereas adjusting the spine never really, it was just a conduit. It's like a tube of what's going on. Right. So, they, where I went to school, obviously wasn't so controversial. They weren't really pro-vaccine. Obviously my stance, I didn't get vaccinated. Nor is my daughter. So, yeah.
Clean blood. Who else is clean blood?
Yeah.
No, they're calling us, what is it? Purebloods. That's what they're calling us now.
Yeah.
Bloods. Pure bloods, yes.
But like, as I kind of continue to learn and grow, and I really, I talk about like earlier about like being 100% responsible for your life. I truly believe we create it all. So we are the creators of it all. Like you can call it a matrix or whatever. You're like, at the end of the day, life started when you're born and life ends when you die. We only believe, we were told there's a story to make, like, think of it like, and you probably heard this, like a game where this is, you're the main character in your game. And the only way to play the game is to have rules and have a story, because you couldn't just start on day one. And so that's kind of how I see it. I mean, I think we just think like the life goes on, but we know if you believe in different timelines or whatever, it's all happening at the same time. And, there's so many different levels and, and I think we're the creator. And I think, from a spiritual point, if you believe in God, I think God, you are God, God's working through you, because God can't feel, he doesn't know, or she or it, the energy couldn't experience things, right? And they come through you to operate, to experience hot and cold, because if it's effervescent, there's nothing but light, right? And so I'm just God's expression. And there's a lot of different great speakers that talk and use references in the Bible of how Jesus came as to show us that, rather than a disciple. But I know it could be controversial as well. And I think I think we're all God. So I'm the creator of it all. I created you guys, I created the government. So once you kind of realize, then you can, that too is very freeing, because now I can create whatever I want. I can create a government that's working for me. Because really, even during COVID, it was a big, I looked at people. So people that were really fearful during COVID. I was not a very, I had some fear, but I worked through a lot of my fear, but I wasn't fear like some people, right? And you could see, I think, like, I don't know how your household was, but even in my household as a kid, conversations about the government were always like, we don't trust the government. The government, who do you vote for? Didn't matter. Like, so, I think like as a collective, because I still think like, we're all running our same program. I think, your own expression in my video game, I guess, right? And so we created the biggest fear-mongering government because of like years of not trusting, right? And I just think now we can change that. So to me, that's where the awakening occurs, right? Where we can awaken people to realize like they have much more control and more creation than they believe they actually have, right?
And you look at Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness, you look at fear. Fear is a very low vibration. If we're 99.9% energy frequency vibration, when you're in fear, you're vibrating at 100 hertz. When you're in love and above, you are at 528 hertz and above. So we've got joy and gratitude at 540 hertz, peace at 600 hertz, and enlightenment at 700 hertz plus. And back to Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton wrote I Will Always Love You. She sang it first before Whitney Houston made it famous. And, songs like Jolene, and, she had some beautiful music that was actually very healing to listen to this music. And this is the thing too, to get very conscious of, what you are allowing in your environment. Are you feeling good and uplifted by what's in your environment, or are you feeling drained?
Right. Because I think, I know, with Dr. Hawkins, I had some, I read his book. I had some, because someone who does, I've done like thousands of different like muscle testing. It's easy to manipulate that, for one, and B, because it's really just one thing, an example, because sometimes like for some organizations, if it's like, say you do the finger, like this is strong as yes, and some it's actually the opposite, strong as the weak as yes. So it's like, how is it even possible, right? It's a lot, to me, it's has something to do with how you're thinking. So when it comes to music, some people that listen to like maybe death metal or like really low, they say low frequency,
low vibrational.
But if you talk to some of the people you'll hear incredible stories of how that music saved their life, So how is that even possible? Like, because they found them at a low point, and it's still maybe vibrate them even higher than they were, right? They're there. So there's still value, right? And it may not bring up me or someone else who vibrates higher. I don't want to, but I don't want to put pedestals on people. Like, I really shouldn't even do that to myself. But I think we're all living a journey, just
Yes.
different points of views. Right.
Fascinating, because when I grew up in my teenage years, I was very angry. I grew up watching a lot of negative news.
Yeah.
My dad used to watch 2 hours of negative news every night, and I ended up very depressed. And he said anger is danger, and I suppressed my anger. However, I listened to angry music around that time, things like the Smiths and sort of punk bands I used to get into, the Cramps and the Buzzcocks, and the Hard-Ons was a band in Sydney that was pretty out there. There was some of this music was really like angry kind of music. And I felt by getting into this music, in some ways, I kind of released some of my anger by,
Sure.
resonating with this angry music. I mean, nowadays I play really peaceful, relaxing music, although I do love the deep blues kind of music and jazz and soul.
Oh, the blues are like healing. That's soul music. Yeah.
I love that kind of music. Now, and things like Jamiroquai and Boney M, the old disco hits, always that always lifts the mood, or a bit of reggae, a bit of Bob Marley. So I love that kind of music now. But you're right, everyone's on a different journey, and whatever works for you, I guess it's a matter of just noticing, do you feel better by listening to the music you're listening to, right, or do you feel worse? And that's
just to say, sorry to cut you off, but you talked about like perfect example of where we just lose our power. You're like, oh, my dad listened to the news. That was still you, right? So it's still you picked that up. You chose to feel that, right? And so all it did was, because at the time you were probably, teenage years were a struggle, where there's fitting in school or wearing the right clothes and all the stuff that goes along at that time. And, it kind of makes sense that you may be angry about something. And just, and I don't think, to me, I think it's less about, you created like less about the music. I listen to all sorts of music now. It doesn't have to be, I listen to Tool and Metallica still. I mean,
right. Well, yes, as a child, back in the days before social media, we just had one TV in our little house in northern beaches of Sydney. And, I remember, I used to actually get up really early and watch Thunderdome, Thunderbirds. I used to love that show, Thunderbirds. Anyway, that's another thing. I used to love that. But also every night was the negative news. And I would be so upset that I'd be in tears as a little girl. After I was very impacted. I was very empathic, and I kind of felt everything. And when I'd seen killings and then I witnessed animal cruelty in the schoolyard, I witnessed bullying in the schoolyard, I saw my best friends turn against me, and yes, I totally I guess chose my reaction to all of that. Cope very well, let me tell you. I did not cope very well, and I was very self-destructive through my teenage years. And thankfully, I came out of that funk I was in for many years there, and now I absolutely love my life. And I've done a lot of personal development work to get to this point, and I continue to invest in my personal development because I certainly don't know it all. I haven't got all of it together, but I'm doing my best every single day, and I think that's the best we can do.
Absolutely. But all that keeps people safe. I just want to, whatever you're going through, your body's doing that as a means for safety, right? Even the client I talked about being in an abusive relationship, she would return back to that because that was safe to her, because that's what we know, right? And so regardless of our situation or our story, it's what we think is safe. And so our nervous system wants safety. And so that's what we're used to. So it's going to go back to what we know, right?
Yes. Nowadays, I prefer positive news, and I've turned my mess into my message, I like to call it.
Absolutely,
because,
right?
Yeah, everything happens for us, not to us. So it's a matter of noticing what are some of the experiences you've had through your life, and some of those most challenging times have led to often to what we do now.
Absolutely, because you can't. I'm sure you've been there. It's hard, like, who better to be like, Ken's story? Who better to talk to about weight loss than someone that's gone on the journey? Right? It's like, how could you sit there and say, well, you're 500 pounds and I'm going to listen to you tell me about how to lose weight, right? But you went from 500 pounds to 100 pounds, I'm going to listen because you know something, right? Rather than you talk to a doctor, like, what do you know? He's like, oh, get on a treadmill and he's smoking a cigarette while he's telling you that, right? It's like, or he smells like cigarettes, or, you know, he's obese himself. He's like, oh, you just need to lose weight. Oh, look at you. Like, you're a dumpster dive yourself. Like, what are you telling me what to do? So, but you're going to listen to someone who's been there, done that, you know, and right. And I think going through those experiences allows you to do that. You know, I remember trying to talk to parents before I had a child myself about parenting, and they're kind of looking at me like, what do you know? You know, they're right. I didn't know anything about what it would be like to raise a child. Now I have that experience, right? So I think we have to go as ambassadors, or whatever you want to call us, into the world. I think it's those people that have been in the trenches that are going to share their stories that are going to move the needle on people, right?
Yes, absolutely. The truth about healing. So what are you finding the biggest issues are right now with people's healing, Kris?
What am I finding the biggest?
Yes.
Yeah, I think too many people, I mean, I think there's no self-accountability. I think that's a big one, right? They want the quick fix. But even if they take a pill, they just don't take one. It's something you have to do for the rest of their life, right? And so, and self-responsibility. Those are the kind of the keys. Like, people want something easy, quick, and often just mainstream, rather than just like looking at what's different. Like ask questions. Yeah. Right. I think that would be ideal. People have to ask questions. Like, I was a person that always asked questions, so maybe I'm not the one to ask, but I think as a whole, we have to ask questions. Don't question what I'm saying. You don't have to believe anything I'm saying. I'm here. I think it's the same. I think we have to ask.
Yes.
Ask questions. Yeah.
Yes. And your being alive method. Now, what does that encompass?
Yeah, it's basically a 3-step process, and it kind of went over. A lot of it is really just like you have to be aware. So it's really where the key starts, right? And then you have to embody it and kind of really feel in your body, and then you got to let it go and free it. So it's, that's kind of the 3-step in a.
What is the letting go and free it look like? Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
I know, and I kind of shared a little bit about this earlier. I know with some of my mindset shifts, particularly around like money mindset. All right. So some of my mindset shifts that, I've been working on making and working my way through. I think my struggle at this point is, even though I've got the new belief, I've got the new decision, I've got the evidence is irrefutable. I have no choice but to say yes to the evidence that is 100% true. I still have anxiousness that comes up. Right, I still have fear that comes up. Why?
Yeah, the story hasn't changed, right? You're trying to like cover it with mud. You're really not getting to the root of the problem. You're just trying to water the tree rather than get to the root of it. So, for instance, really biggest thing, one of the points for myself, like I used to have anxiety. When I talk about anxiety, so I didn't know what it was called. Going back to playing hockey, I used to play hockey, but when I would play just for fun with a bunch of guys, friends, I was a decent hockey player. But if I would play in a league where there's a referee, they're counting score, it was just like I was two different players. And so I had thought like, well, I got to have these superstitions, and I create all these superstitions thinking like, but it didn't matter. I would still like fall in the blue line and, miss a wide open net. And just like, it was just like, who are these two different people? Right. And one day I just was noticing, I was going to my game, and one of my games, and I was just feeling these feelings in my body. Like, now I know it's anxiety. And I would pee like 2-3 times before a game. And so I just did what I teach people. I started to feel it and breathe, and just that anxiety went away. It took me about a couple of sessions of doing this, and, end up tying the team in points. It was kind of more like I end up being more my player, and so that's the idea. If you have to like actually start to feel it, and then actually it disappears, it becomes no longer your story. So
what do you mean by feel it? You mean just
you have
sit
to get
in
in
it?
your body. Yep. Feel in your body. You have to embody it. You have to. So when you're feeling the scarcity or whatever the mindset you're feeling, you have to feel that. So I had a person who was afraid of um, being in crowds for some reason. Like she would never go to concerts. Even going to her church was challenging. And she was going to a wedding, and she's from, Indian descent. So if you know anything about Indians, enormous weddings. And it was her niece getting married, so she wanted to go. I think 1 or 2 sessions, boom. She was able to, no, and she just went. There was no anxiety. There was no trepidation, or whatever the word would be before. There was just like, it wasn't like, just like you and I would go without a problem, right? And that's what happens, right, when you let go. I grew up in a world where, you spilled water, you get yelled at. And, my wife would do that and at the dinner table. And I grew up and my daughter would lose it. I'd lose my mind. It was just ridiculous. This is, and I share the story. Maybe it's embarrassing, but for people, or for me, but one day now I'm single and I'm sitting there and she spilled water and I flip out and I could see the fear in her. She's running to the kitchen to get some blanket, a napkin and something to cover the water. And I realized, like, what am I doing? So I did what I teach, and I realized, like, I worked through that, the trigger, and literally within 3 sessions, I never reacted. I mean, the cool thing, it just happened like a couple months ago now. Neither of us reacted, which was the best part, because after I wasn't reacting, she was still having the fear. So her nervous system was now, I created her own nervous system because they're worried about me. So even after I said, "Oh, don't worry about it," she would run and get towels and, napkin, and like, "Don't worry, Daddy." I'm like, "Oh, don't worry. And now she doesn't react. I don't react. So it's, it was a real gift to see that, because she hadn't spilled water in, years, and she just spilled one recently. So it was good to see that no one reacted, because that's the power of it. You have to actually, get in your body, because that's where that's where you're holding it.
Maybe I missed it. So how does that process happen of actually getting in your body and then releasing it? And the reason why I'm just kind of leaning in a little further with this is because I feel like I've tried so many different times only to fail. And so I'm kind of like going, well, not to fail, because if I truly failed, I wouldn't be here. It was a learning point. So I mean, I'm kind of also learning to rephrase stuff like that too. So
you just want to, whatever you're feeling. Yeah. So you have some anxiety about something, money. So you're say your anxiety about looking at your bank account because you're worried about being overdraft. Well, sit with the anxiety, like feel it in your body. Like, where do you feel it? Where do you notice it? And just be with it, right? And that's gonna be enough to let it go.
That's it.
Yeah.
You just sit in it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna test that. And then I'm gonna come back to you and be like, no. But
I mean, there's a little bit. I mean, it's a simplified version. You got to do it a bunch, but yeah, it'll work. Absolutely. Yeah.
So you do have to do it multiple times. Okay, so
it's a little bit of a process. That's kind of the whole process. You got to get it in body and you feel it, but it's like riding a bike. You're not going to get it in the first, like, you're going to be able to ride, but the more you practice, the more you get in your body, the better you're going to be at it, the better, so absolutely, but you don't know what you're looking for. So it could take longer. It could take, right.
Okay.
But it's
so that's what I was looking for. There's a process to it. And then what comes to my mind is, as I'm doing all this work, I mean, and this is all part of the journey that I'm on, and I'm just kind of being transparent about, it's like, okay, here's some areas where I'm struggling. But then as I'm doing all this work, recently it came to my mind, one of the other underlining thoughts that's there that also produces anxiousness is, okay, with all this process I'm doing and all this reprogramming and paying attention and stuff like that, which I know it is helping. Like, it is putting me on the right path. I am heading down that path that I want to go on. But now there's this underlining thought is, what if I'm missing something? And what if that throws a wrench in this whole thing? And what if that stalls me out? And what if, all of that is now playing through my mind. Like, what if I don't do it right? And then there's the fear, like, when I feel the emotions, I'm like, oh, I feel these emotions. Does that mean all the work I've done is now void and nil? or do I just embrace and move forward? Right. That's what I'm. Yeah. So anyhow, that's like all the chatter.
Simple answer: you can't do it wrong. You can't do it wrong. Right.
That's good to know.
And no judge whatever happens. I think that's the biggest. Even with meditation, people are like, oh, I can't meditate. The whole idea of meditation is just you being with yourself, and how often do you do that, right? So just take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and just be with your thoughts. If that's all you do, if, like if you fall asleep during a meditation, great. That's what you're supposed to do. If all you do is think about what you got to do today and during your meditation, perfect. That's all. But we never spend time with just you or our thoughts, right? We are with yourself. So
no,
that's
I kind of feel like most of the time I'm running away from my thoughts.
Right.
Yes. Instead of embracing it as perfect. Everything's in divine order, I keep telling myself. Right. And a great way I get into my body is I just pause and I breathe. Breathing, I think, is very powerful, because when the triggers come, often people just react like they become like 3-year-old children suddenly, and they, fight, they fly, or they freeze. There's one of those 3 reactions that generally happen. And it's just noticing how you react. And I know whenever I feel angry about something, I don't like the feeling. And so now it's like, okay, how long do I want to hold on to that feeling? And, and then actually just stopping myself and just going, okay, enough, and having this little conversation with myself. But subconsciously, you've got generally one of 3 things that people are feeling subconsciously. It's I'm not good enough, I don't belong, and I'm not loved. And so if we've got this I'm not good enough, which I've had I'm not enough, full stop, like not just not good enough, but just not enough. I've had that running the show. And so being a massive overachiever and being really hard on myself for many years. So then it's just noticing, there I am being hard on myself again, when those conversations come up, like I'm not doing it right, whatever, those conversations. And then just actually coming back to, okay, what's a small thing I can do now where I can acknowledge myself for something I've done. And then I'm really loving lately breaking down my to-do list to very simple tasks and prioritizing and then ticking things off in my diary. I love doing that.
Yeah, that's good.
Self-confidence every time I do that.
I would say, like, to add to that, a lot of those, most things, like from my experience, the root of all of it is all around safety. So early on in your childhood, it basically comes around safety. At some point, you didn't feel safe to be held or heard, because we've all seen children or infants can only communicate through crying, and often we just let them cry, and so it goes with a need not being met. So and me and my wife were really made sure that when my daughter would cry, we went to her, because she's crying for something. She just was with her mom for 9 months or 10 months, really, right in her womb. And all of a sudden, boom, you're out in the real world. And all of a sudden you're in a different room. She can't, it just makes no sense how we raise our children nowadays. And so we always felt like, okay, if she's crying, there's a need being met, regardless of what that is. Right. And so we would go to her, and so we would soothe her, or whatever, hold her, or, check on her. Is she hungry? Is she wet? So, that's, and so a lot of that starts because, around safe. So she didn't feel safe. Right. And so you see that, like my daughter, we would take her anywhere and just leave her and close the door and go. And most parents, that's not the case. It's like the kids lose their mind, like preschool, school, dance class. My daughter's 3, drop her off, we go. It really never mattered. She was fine with us. So, I wanted to have a second child, just even like as a test, as a test, but never happened yet.
Yes, I hear you. And it's interesting, the word safe, the government often use that. Oh, this is safe and effective, and how often have we heard, whenever I hear safe and effective from government or media now, I think, oh, question that one, question everything. Because people do want to feel safe. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and I know we do need to wrap up shortly, but yes, really love this conversation today, Kris. Is there anything else you want to share about the truth about healing before we go on?
No, I think we covered so much. I mean, there's so much more we can dive deeper into. I wish we could continue. My apologies.
Well, perhaps we'll have a part 2 of you on the show.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Yeah. think there's so many more we can dig more into that we couldn't even cover in half hour. I think, yeah, it'd be great.
Yes, wow. I'd love to. And you're putting your own event on coming up, a health event coming up. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's called Unmask Your Health. Ken's going to be a speaker. It's a different. It's just a different way of different people from different walks of life from explaining the point of view how they help people. So whether that's from my point of view, nervous system regulation, or weight loss. We have people. In my last one, a guy did this sauna detox, which was really cool with vitamin B. Yeah, so we have all sorts. There was a girl who talked about healing with what do you call it, like mushrooms, I think, or whatever, like whatever medicinal things, right? So there's really different ways of going. It was really different talk speakers. So yeah, it's a great event, and it's I don't have a date on it yet, but yeah, in the fall it's coming.
Excellent. And do you have a favorite quote or motto you'd like to share with us today, Kris?
No, that's a good one. I don't. I'm not a big quote guy. Yeah. No.
Okay.
What's your motto? Like, what's a phrase you go by? What's like a tagline for your brand or something like that? What is that?
Something you think about?
Yeah, just like for me, it's always like everything comes down to like just being alive. I think the whole thing is just be. And Alive is a Pearl Jam song, so it just kind of fits because I love, like to be alive. It's just amazing. So, to just to be, and be do have process, which we didn't get into, but being alive, forget to live, right? And so that's the whole process of what I teach people is to actually live, right? To be and to be more present and actually live. And so you're more, you're better with your family, your friends, you just can relate more. And the cool thing is like the more you change, the more the people around you change, so just working with a lady, and yesterday she spoke about like she's in in a situation, she's divorced, but she's got 2 kids, and they see their dad, and it's just like they're always like arguing and just blowouts. And by doing the work, like he's changing, which is so cool when that happens.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I've done a lot of work with Landmark Education, and they talk about
it. Exactly. Yeah.
Being when you be a certain way, then you will do certain things, and then you will have the result.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where I got it. Absolutely.
Yes, love that. And for people to work with you or connect with you, I presume you'll have this health event up on your website once you have a date set. Yes. This is your website here. We'll share there, belfrywellness.com.
Yes.
And
you can book a call. I have to offer a free discovery call. We can dig into, your problem. I don't work with everybody because the biggest is people that have to want to take accountability for themselves, and I want them to succeed, and they have to want to do the work. It's not going to happen without that. So you have to put some work in. Right? So.
I can attest to that. This journey I'm on, it has not been an easy one. It's a lot of work to make sure that you stay on top of this journey. Right. So I can attest to that.
Yes, 100%. And everything's in divine order, I believe. So, welcome the challenges because they do help us grow stronger and get to the next level in life. So Belfry Wellness, for those on audio, that is BELFRY Wellness, WELLNESS.com. Check out Kris's links there and all of the goodness to connect with Kris. Thank you so much. And
thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Oh, it's been a great show. And yes, we'd love to have you back sometime. That would be amazing.
Let me know.
Now, Kris, you can either stay on while Aldwin and I wrap up, or you can go ahead and pop off now. So it is totally up to you. We're just letting you know that you have the freedom to do that if you want.
Perfect. I'm going to pop off, but I really appreciate it, and I'd love to do this again. So let me know, and we will.
Definitely. Great having you on the show, my friend.
We'll talk again to both of you soon. Take care. Bye
God
for
bless.
now.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Kris.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Fantastic. Oh, he was great. Okay.
Oh, that was an amazing conversation.
It's so interesting. So there we go again, belfrywellness.com to connect with our amazing special guest, Kris Belfry, who was coming from over your way somewhere, Ken, but it's
in
later.
the United States.
Yeah. It's on the other side of the United States. And it's about 11 p.m. for him right now. It's just gone 1 p.m. here on the Gold Coast, Wednesday, 26th of August, 2026. We are here today, and this show will stay online for a long time. So looking back, this is the day in time. Now, Ken, what is your quote for today?
The quote I have is this one, and it's from Rumi, I think is R-U-M-I. Rumi? I don't know. Anyhow, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And the explanation behind that is the wound isn't necessarily proof that you're broken. It can become the very place where transformation begins.
Oh, I love that. Very cool. Awesome. And how can people connect with you, Ken?
Well, for those of you who, I mean, pretty much everybody who watched this show knows I've lost weight. But for those of you who maybe are tuning in for the very first time, I have lost 62.5 pounds, and I've kept it off for 7+ years now without a diet and having that be sustainable. The common question that I get is not how did you lose the weight? It's how have you been able to sustainably keep it off? That's always the question that I get. So right now I'm giving away my 3 secrets to not only help you feel energized, to lose weight and get healthy without starving or dieting. Right now, in just 3 one-on-one sessions with me, live one-on-one sessions at that, I am giving away, I'm exposing the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry is making money. And I'm showing people how they can finally feel their body God's way and finally break free and keep the weight off for life sustainably without a diet. And so how you can connect with me and join that, it's a mini educational boot camp. So it's not a workout plan. It's not an eating plan. It is an educational foundation. How you can join that is you can go to www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. That's my connect page. On that page, you'll find 4 buttons. The very first one is to join the boot camp. The second one is to book a free strategy call with me. Maybe you're not sure you want to start at the boot camp. All right. Book a free strategy call with me. Let's get on Zoom. Let's unpack that. Let's figure things out there. The last 2 buttons is a button to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to connect with me on Facebook. So that is www.masteryweightloss.com/connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ken. And for those who want to connect with me, you can go to Linktree/Aldrin. That's linktr.ee/Aldrin. At the top there, you will find 5 top tips to gain TV exposure. There's a free download there you can grab off the website. We also have a link to the Global Good News Challenge, which is free every single month, where we share gratitude and good news and help with people's mental health by helping to lift the energy on the planet and decrease depression and suicide rates. And also in there, we've announced our 20th Animal Action event this year. We're doing a retreat to Dili, to East Timor, Timor-Leste, and we're going to be swimming with the whales, the dolphins, sea giants, going on small boats out to Dili, out from Timor-Leste in Indonesia, with Lynn Sutherland. Dame Rita Rose is coming, and there's opportunity for a few small people to come and join us on that. A small group of people, not small people, a small group of people to come and join us. It is a small
small people, just small
people.
People.
Just for little people, only for the little ones, because left out often, So we do have that coming up, the Animal Action Retreat with the Ocean Giants. It's going to be amazing. Teaming up with Travel Wild TV, Lynn Sutherland there, Dame Rita Rose, who is my partner in the Fear to Freedom book as well. We have an opportunity for people to come in and share their story of how they've overcome some kind of challenge in our next Fear to Freedom book, and have your photo on the cover. So reach out to me if you'd like to know more about that. Just send me a message on LinkedIn or my main Facebook account, which you'll find also linked in that link tree there. for more details on that. And I'm happy to announce we have become international bestseller in a new book that I have a chapter in with Action Takers Publishing in America. And that's called Unstoppable Women in Business. Just hit bestseller in Canada, the US, and Australia. We just had our book launch at 1 a.m. this morning, my time, Wednesday, the 26th of August. And that was 8 a.m. for those in PT time where you are, Ken. So 8 a.m. for you, 1 a.m. for us. And I am speaking at 1:30 a.m. tomorrow morning on the Unstoppable Women in Business Summit. I'm talking about transforming fear to freedom at 1:30 a.m. About
Australian time, guys. This isn't Pacific or Eastern time. This is Australian time.
It'll be 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. And speaking about transforming fear to freedom, the power of your story. So really looking forward to being at that summit and speaking there. It is a free event. I've put a link onto my socials. You can register and come and join us live if you'd like to in the next 24 hours. All right, my quote today, actually, I've got a few quotes. I really love this one here. Your healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our lives. I love it. And here's one by Gary Zukov, and it's eventually you will come to understand that love heals everything and love is all there is. And all you need is love, right? As the song goes, and as beautiful Dolly Parton sang, I will always love you. And blessings to Dolly Parton. May she rest in peace. Thank you for the joy that you brought, Dolly. Thank you for all the beautiful music. And what a special lady. And, a famous Dolly Parton quote, she said, it costs a lot to look this cheap. I'll never forget that. So thank you so much, Dolly Parton. And for those who passed before us, thank you. Blessings to you. And for those who continue to live on in this version of reality, may you do your best to be as healthy as possible so you can live the longest, happiest life that you can in the beautiful blessing that we have here with our lives. Thank you so much. Ken, any final thoughts or words before we wrap up this show?
No, it was a really good show.
Yes, it was an awesome show. Let us know what you thought. For those who joined us live or watching the replay, let us know what are your thoughts on our show here. Hey, Corinda's with us. Hey, Corinda, good to see you. Let us know, what did you enjoy about this show? What did you get from it? What was something you learned? Maybe some aha moments. Let us know in the comments. And if you have any questions for any of us, of course, we're always open to that as well. And please share the love, like our Total Truth Show Facebook page, follow us on Spotify, etc., etc. We'd love to connect with you, and of course our YouTube channels. We have all sorts of great content out there, so please stay connected. We just hit 3,000 uploads on our YouTube channel, so very very happy about that. And just hang in there, my friends. Be consistent, be faithful with the small, and the big will come. It's another one of my favorite quotes. And be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you so much, Ken. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to our amazing guest today as well, Kris, and many blessings. We'll see you next time on Total Truth Show. Bye for now. Bye.